Let's meet Dr Marc Cohen, a pioneering medical doctor and professor who blends ancient wisdom with modern science to make wellness a joyful, global and contagious movement. I'm Kate Save. The Inspired CEO starts now. Welcome to The Inspired CEO, where each episode we explore the innovative wellness practices that are driving success and longevity in the modern business world. In this episode, we speak with Dr Marc Cohen, a renowned medical doctor, professor, author, and wellness trailblazer, whose life's work bridges ancient healing traditions and cutting-edge science, from hot springs and saunas to breathwork and biohacking. Dr Marc shares his journey into integrative medicine, the lessons he's learned from decades of research, and why he believes wellness should be a collective, joyful and contagious experience. Thank you for coming in, Marc.
It's such a pleasure. Thanks for having me, Kate.
What an incredible life you've had. Over 100 published studies.
120 now.
Wow. And I think it will be hard for people who don't know you to comprehend 3 PhDs.
Well,
and
2 PhDs and a medical degree and an honours degree.
And so starting as a medical doctor, was that your first
I started as a
training?
medical student.
Yes.
Then I did 3 years of medicine, took a year off, did an honours degree, went back and did 4th year medicine. It was a 6-year course. Took another 3 years off and did a PhD, went back and finished medicine.
What was that PhD?
Chinese medicine.
Ah, incredible. So the Eastern, Western.
Yeah, and then I went back and finished Western medicine and then started working as a doctor and as an academic, and then did a second PhD in electrical computer systems engineering.
Wow, okay.
Because I wanted to study the body as a communication network and how the body works in terms of how the information moves through the body, and that's what engineers study. So I'm an engineer as well.
Yeah.
And then got involved with wellness and the spa industry and health retreats and all the stuff that doesn't have any big funding behind it, but all the really fun stuff. So yoga and organic food and saunas and hot springs and
The back to basics.
yeah, elite athletic performance and things like that. Yeah.
Tell me though, how did you know that you were going to go into wellness? Did it start with wellness, or where did it start?
Well, I remember I studied at Melbourne High, and I loved biology. I was a great student academic because I loved learning. And I figured I wanted to learn how I could be well, how I could have the most fun, fulfilling life. So that was my motivation. And I figured, well, studying medicine would teach me that, because medicine you learn about life and death and everything in between. So I started studying medicine not to help sick people, but so I could learn how to have a healthy, wellness, fulfilling life.
Yeah.
Well, the word wellness wasn't even used then. It was the early 80s.
Right.
So that was my starting to medicine, and then I've just followed my nose. And really, my whole life has been focusing on fun. Like, how can I have more fun? So, and I'm curious. So I did an honours degree in physiology and psychology.
Yes.
And I wanted to do it on pleasure at the time. I wanted to study pleasure, and they said that's frivolous. This is before positive psychology. This is in the mid 80s. They said you can't study pleasure, that's frivolous. But so okay, I'll study pain. So I did an honours degree on pain, and I kept on coming up against Chinese medicine and acupuncture analgesia, and how it wasn't understood, but it's a thing, and releases endorphins and the mechanism. So I was curious about Chinese medicine, and then I realised in Chinese medicine, you get better as you get older. Like, it's all about prevention, but you look at like Chinese martial artists and meditation masters. The older they get, the more prolific they get.
Wow.
So you get these, 70-year-old Chinese, kung fu experts who can throw around the 20-year-olds.
Wow.
And I said, I want to get better with age. How do I learn that? How do I learn prevention, not just treating disease? So I had to study Chinese medicine. That was my first PhD.
Gosh. So how many years of study all up?
Well, I'm still, so I spent 35 years at university.
Oh my goodness.
But that includes being a professor and
Yes.
studying. So in terms of full-time study, it took me 10 years to finish my medical degree, so to be honours and a PhD, and then another 6 years to do the second PhD. So 16 years as a student.
Yes.
And then another 16, 18 years as an academic, where I was supervising other students' PhDs and learning myself all the time. So every job I've had, I've always had more than half of my role has been learning.
Wow. And when did you decide, because you started in Western medicine and then you went to the Chinese medicine, what was that moment when you decided this is not enough, that the Western medicine, there's something missing?
Oh, it was pretty soon after the second or third year of Western medicine, because I'd studied anatomy and physiology and pathology and all of that, but I hadn't learned anything about health. I learned a lot about disease and it was great knowledge learning about how the body works, but they really didn't teach about health or nutrition or lifestyle. And then I jumped the ship into Chinese medicine, which is about prevention, but a totally different way of looking at the world. And I figured if I wanted to be healthy and well and have the most fulfilling life for myself, I wanted to take knowledge from wherever it was.
Yes.
And I figured humans have been around for hundreds of thousands of years, and written medical knowledge has been around for at least 5,000 years. And the Chinese, they're a big population, their medicine must work, because the ability to work out if medicine works is, are people healthy and well?
Yes, yes.
And every culture, every tradition has its own techniques. And I figured, with globalization and the world's becoming smaller, I wanted to get what are the best techniques from all over the world.
Yes.
So Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, looking at different just cultural traditions, different herbal traditions. And then for me to learn, they say one of the best ways to learn is to teach. And I had these opportunities to write textbooks. So I had a friend, Leslie Braun, who was a pharmacist and naturopath. And she said, do you want to write a book on herbs and supplements? I said, I don't know anything about it. They didn't teach me that in medical school, but I can help you write a book.
Yeah.
So we wrote this textbook on herbs and supplements that started in the turn of the millennium, around the year 2000.
Right.
And then that turned into a 400-page textbook. The second edition became 800 pages. The third edition was 1,200 pages. The fourth edition is now 1,600 pages in 2 volumes.
Wow.
And it's been the standard textbook for naturopaths and herbalists for the last 20 years. So for me to learn herbs and supplements, I wrote a textbook, which was my education, and now it's teaching a lot of other people. And similarly, I was introduced in 2008. I was going to wellness conferences around the world, and I met a professor, Jerry Bodecker, and he was from Oxford University, and he'd written the World Health Organization summary of how complementary medicine is used around the world. So he was an expert on natural medicine that's used around the world. So when we got on at this conference, we had lunch, and he said, look, he was amazed that the spa industry is where people go and get health treatments, and they're paying out of pocket, it's no third-party payers. But there's no journals about it. There's no textbooks about it. It doesn't come up on the radar when you're studying about natural medicine. The spa industry is just hotels and hospitality, which means it's meeting a market need. People are paying money for it, but it's so separate from health. And he said, where can I read about it? And I'd been doing this for a while, wellness conferences, and I said, look, there's no textbooks on it. Maybe we should write one. Well, he said to me, let's write the textbook. I said, okay. So we wrote the first textbook on the global spa industry.
Gosh.
And to do that, we had to get a lot of other authors and entrepreneurs and people who were in the wellness industry who had, a lot of them were multi-millionaires who had their own companies. So we put it to them, can you write 5,000 words about your special knowledge that no one else knows, and put it into a format with references, and then you'll get a free copy of the book. That was the deal, and they said yes.
Sure.
And once we had 3 or 4 of the top people in the world, they all rushed in. They wanted to help the industry. So these people all became my peers. And then I became a board member of the Global Wellness Summit. And that's been going for 19 years now. So for every year, it's part of my job, and I was a professor at RMIT at that time, part of my job was to travel around the world and meet the top wellness experts around the world and teach them, but to learn from them.
And tell me, with, I guess, the world's kind of gone from this more natural place without technology and processed foods and those sorts of things to being ultra tech, ultra pressure, fast, stress. Everything seems to be around money as opposed to around, like you said, fun and wellness. How are you bringing this all together with how things are changing so quickly, and you've got these two polar things that you're trying to make meet in the middle?
Because once it becomes an industry, there's a lot of wellness washing that goes on in the industry. People trying to turn a dollar around it. And this really hit me because I really love practices that require very little cost, training or equipment. And At the start of the pandemic, I was actually going through, because Melbourne, we're the most locked down city in the world. And I said, what are people going to, how can they stay healthy? And I started writing down all the techniques, because at that stage I've been studying natural medicine for 30 years, all the things that have research evidence that they improve immunity and reduce anxiety, and that they require very little cost, training or equipment. I started writing a list, and there was 50 things on the list. And when I started ordering the list, it turned into a poem. So I've got this 90-second poem that has got 50 activities, and each activity has references to it. I'm happy to share that. I think I should share it with the audience.
Please
so this
share
poem, I call it The Way to Wellness.
Okay.
And it's simple. It's the way to wellness. Hold someone's hand, gaze into their eyes. Go barefoot in nature, bask in sunrise. Choose a dance partner and go find your groove. Do Tai Chi or yoga and mindfully move. Share a massage, enjoy healing touch. Focus on one thing and don't think too much. Make time for a hobby, play chess, fly a kite. Make use of your hands, draw, paint, sew or write. Help someone in need, donate to a cause. Play games, meditate, read stuff from bookstores. Turn off your screens and get a good sleep. Declutter, spark joy, and love what you keep. Dig around in a garden, pick up a guitar. Slip into a bathtub, sauna or spa. Care for a pet, take up a sport. Go on vacation and make your home a resort. Lie in a hammock, relieve pent-up stress. Relax and do nothing, and then do even less. Laugh out loud, share a joke, give someone a kiss. Say a prayer, chant a mantra, and follow your bliss.
Incredible. Each of those little things, just the little flashes, the little memories, the feelings, the emotion, they're all so simple, and we all have most of those things in our life. May not be able to play the guitar, but
or any instrument.
yeah,
just
that's right. But
the
concept of it, each of those things brings so much joy. And the feeling that comes along with each of those things is a release. You get to the end of the poem and it's like,
even thinking about it, you feel uplifted.
Yeah.
But all of those things you can do at home. You don't need to spend money. You don't need to buy anything or much training, and you don't need much equipment. And actually, on my website, I've got a link to each of those. There's 50 activities. There's a link to the research.
Oh wow!
So it's like that's a systematic review.
and this is the part that I think people that are watching may not understand, that the work that's gone behind everything you do, the cogs that are going on in your brain, the 3 PhDs and everything else, and the 30 years of being an expert in this area. Anything that comes out of your mouth comes out with so much wisdom behind it, experience, knowledge, research.
The challenge is to make it really simple. So there's another very short poem that I came up with. I was running a retreat in 2019, teaching people to use ice baths. And I've done a lot of yoga research in the past, and I've got a lot of yogi friends.
Yes.
And we were talking about how do you stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system?
Yeah.
And what are the things you can do with your body that helps calm yourself when you're
parasympathetic, for people that are
calming.
listening.
So there's sympathetic, which is fight and flight, and
Yes.
parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. It calms you down. So when you go into an ice bath, you're in fight and flight. You start to overbreathe and you start to panic a bit. So how can you settle people down? And I started writing the things you could do. And that turned into a very short poem. I call it the 10 hacks to relax. And I think this should be taught in schools, because the things you can do with your body that I call emotional first aid.
Yes.
So anytime you're scared, anxious, upset, or in pain, you can do these activities. And the poem's like less than 30 seconds.
Let's do it.
Touch all your fingers, wiggle your toes, soften your stomach, breathe through your nose. Sigh, smile, swallow, sing. Flutter your eyelids and focus within.
Wow.
So again, it's super simple.
Yeah.
But those things, anytime you're scared, anxious, upset or in pain, that will calm you down. It sort of tricks your body into feeling that you're in control.
I was thinking about being in the ice bath the other day, my toes. I will wriggle my toes.
Yeah.
That is my number one thing. That
At the dentist or any time you're wriggling your toes.
Yeah.
Because when you're in fight and flight, you clench your fist, you purse your lips, you hold your stomach, like you're getting to run away or fight for your life. It's only when you're safe in your cave and you've escaped from the tiger or you've fought the battle that you can lick your wounds, and then you can relax, you can eat, you can flirt, you can sleep, you can use fine finger movements, fine toe movements. So when you're doing that, that signals to your brain that you're safe.
Oh, wow.
So that's emotional first aid. And it's, again, 10 little things, super simple, but there's no money behind teaching that. So this is stuff, hopefully, we could teach it in schools and give people these very low-cost life hacks that actually make their life better.
And that is the confounding thing about life these days. If it doesn't make people money, people seem not to be interested. But when people get sick, you cannot buy back your health, and they would pay anything for it. So it's trying to put a price on something that doesn't have a price really, because if they don't do that work, they're going to end up sick, and no amount of money, doesn't matter, billions, is not going to bring them back to health.
That's it. And what I've learnt, I started off my medical career in 1982 studying medicine because it was about me. I wanted to be healthy and well. And what I've learnt as I've matured and grown older is that wellness is about we, illness is about I. And for me to be well, I need to be in a whole culture of wellness.
Yes.
So my life's now becoming, how do I create a culture of wellness that infects the world with good health?
Oh.
And so that's my sort of mission now. And so these things like having little hacks that you can do, having lifestyle practices, bathing practices, traditional medical practices, that becomes not something you do when you're sick. It becomes part of the things you do every day, and it's part of the culture.
Right.
So just drinking good water, having bathing, using ferments, using honey, using herbs as part of your daily routine.
And that is missing from Western medicine education, isn't it? That's why you went off and did a whole nother PhD.
Well, Western medicine is very reactive. It's like, and it was in Hippocrates' time, the medical doctors would go to the marketplace where all the sick people would go, and the best doctors would be able to predict what's going to happen to you and help you fix you. So they're just reacting to illness, whereas it was never about how to stay healthy. So Chinese medicine was all about how to stay healthy. The stories go that in ancient China, you paid the doctor while you were well, and you stopped paying when you got sick. So it was actually a preventative model, sort of very yin and yang. Western medicine was the yang and Chinese was the yin model. And I wanted to combine both of those. And that was my foray into Chinese medicine and all the other therapies that I studied.
So tell me a little bit about the products you've created. So we've got Extremely Alive.
Well, that's a whole another creation. And I don't mean to create products. So I was at a festival and a guy I knew there who was selling kombucha, and he kept on saying to me, my kombucha fixes everything. I'm saying, you can't say that, that's rubbish. I've published books on herbal medicine and stuff. I know the research. He said, but it does. So I looked up the research, and there were 300 studies on kombucha, but all done in animals and test tubes. None on humans. Like 0 studies on humans. I thought that's strange, because even some obscure herbs have human studies. So I was a professor at the time. I said, I know how to do studies, let's do one. So we actually did 2 studies. One was looking at the microbes and the polyphenols, and the other was looking at a clinical trial looking at blood sugar control.
Yes.
So it was the first ever human clinical trial of kombucha. And it took 3 years to publish. But when we published it, we showed that if you had the kombucha with a meal compared to diet soft drink or soda water, you had a 20% reduction in the blood sugar spike after the meal.
Goodness
and the kombucha had a bit of sugar in it. The diet soft drink and the soda water had no sugar. But the kombucha reduced by 20% the blood sugar. And we know vinegar reduces blood sugar, but this was the first study of kombucha. And I said to him, look, I want to go into business with you. And I've got all these herbal knowledge. I wrote the textbook on herbal medicine. So let's combine that. But I want a product that's shelf stable.
Yes.
I don't want to have a cold chain logistics product. Any proper living kombucha needs to be refrigerated. And I've got wellness friends all over the world who are running wellness resorts and spas, so I wanted a product for them. So we worked out if we ferment the kombucha all the way to vinegar, there's no sugar or alcohol left in it.
Yes.
And it's stable, but it's still alive. And then we can infuse that with herbs. So it's a vinegar extract.
Right.
And because I wrote this textbook, 1,600-page textbook, we combined leaves, roots, flowers, fruits and fungi, which gives it a very broad flavour profile, a very broad polyphenol profile. And polyphenols are the plant chemicals that help the plant defend itself against pests and danger, but they're healthy for us.
Yes.
And the polyphenols are in all the really expensive foods, like red wine and chocolate and berries and olive oil. All the high-end foods have high polyphenols.
And we're the people in the world live the longest.
Exactly right. So we got leaves, roots, flowers, fruits and fungi, and because Chinese medicine, they're into 5 elements, we combined sweet, salty, spicy, sour and bitter flavours. So it stimulates your palate. And we came up with 5 different blends. So one for your gut and one for your brain and one for your hormones and one for detox, one for the immune system, and created a vinegar range. And that was over lockdown, so we had time to do it. And then, it's education. People don't know what kombucha is. They don't know what kombucha vinegar is.
Yes.
Everyone knows apple cider vinegar.
Yes.
But
do they know it for the right reasons now? Well, health washing.
That's true. But I mean, apples are great. They're high in polyphenols. Green tea's got more polyphenols than apples. And what we showed in one of the studies where we measured the polyphenols, the kombucha has 2.5 times the polyphenols of the green tea that we start with.
Wow.
So the fermentation process, the bacteria in the yeast make new polyphenols. So they make it even more potent.
Incredible.
Which is great. So so that was, we created that.
And the taste of these is incredible.
Then the final thing was adding honey to it. And we got Manuka honey, and now we're getting leatherwood Manuka honey from Tasmania. So you've got the sour vinegar, the sweet honey, the bitter and all the different flavoured herbs. So it's this flavour explosion that happens in your mouth, but it's super healthy. And it's like it's like a soft drink concentrate that's a health tonic.
It's like the new cordial.
Well, that's it. It's a super healthy cordial.
Couldn't it? And even like, I don't know nearly even a speck of what you know about herbs, but I look at this and I go, okay, well, you've got the black pepper in there for the turmeric absorption. You've got the slippery elm for the gut, and the ginger, the lion's mane. Like, all of these ingredients are absolutely so well studied, so well known. Even people who don't study it know the benefits.
And we have to source them certified organic and do all that. So there's a lot of thought that's gone into that. But the great thing about it, I mean, we make these fantastic products, but I can also say, look, if you don't want to buy it off me, here's how to do it for free.
Yes.
Here's how to do it yourself.
Yes.
Because to make kombucha vinegar, you just make kombucha and ignore it, and it turns to vinegar. And then you can add honey to it, you can soak herbs in it, and you can make this yourself. In fact, when I was researching this, I thought I created vinegar and honey, and there's a word for it. It's called oxymol. Oxy means acid, mel means honey.
That's what's on the front there.
It's an oxymol,
Yes.
But oxymol was a favourite prescription of Hippocrates.
Huh.
So he's known for saying, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Yes.
He was talking about vinegar and honey. Because they're both foods, but they're both medicines. And then there's a very famous physician called Avicenna, and he was in ancient Persia around the year 1000, and he combined oxymols with bathing, with contrast bathing. Saunas and ice baths.
Yes.
And now sinotherapy has been studied. They've done animal studies for some reason, not human studies, on this sinotherapy using oxymols with bathing. And I thought, my life had come, I had this bathing history, and I've worked with hot springs for so many years, and now I've got oxymols.
And you've created the oxymol and you didn't even know that's what it was.
And then I realised, wow, 1,000 years ago, Avicenna was doing this. Gosh. And he had 1,200 recipes for oxymols, because it was a base for all the different herbal medicines.
And I think what's so wonderful about all of this is, firstly, most of this doesn't cost any money. Secondly, it all goes back to what humans have been doing for tens of thousands of years. It's not new. So it's, it's presented in a different packaging and whatever else, but you're actually using human knowledge.
Ancient knowledge.
Yeah.
But we've done modern science on the ancient knowledge, showing that it's good, and then we're giving it back to people to say, here's how to do it yourself. We'll source the best honey from you. And this honey we've got now, the leatherwood Manuka honey from the Tarkine forest in Tasmania, is amazing honey. I think 12 times awarded the best leatherwood honey in the world.
Incredible.
And so we got that, we've got the herbs with the vinegar. So it's a great product. We'll teach people how to make it themselves.
And then bringing it all together from the education point of view, you've written incredible poetry and these incredible books as well to teach everything that you're distilling down, everything you know, into a version that is simple for a child to understand.
That's the intention, to make, because wellness, it shouldn't be rocket science. To be healthy should be easy and simple, and we've got all these. Every ancient tradition has a wellness tradition. Pretty much every medical tradition throughout history has had a bathing tradition, has had a herbal tradition. So I try to distill all that down. And I mean, these books here, the first book, it took me, when I was studying Chinese medicine in Sri Lanka in mid-1980s.
Yes.
And I came across the 5-element theory of Chinese medicine and the Tao and yin and yang. And I thought, these are great concepts. But I was also into Western physics and thermodynamics and mindfulness and human physiology. And I set myself a challenge. Can I write a poem, like a Dr. Seuss style poem, that will combine all of these really deep concepts into something that will be accessible to 4-year-olds? And that was a project going on in the back of my mind for 30 years.
Goodness
so
me.
I kept on, working on it and crafting it. And then I met an illustrator who could illustrate these concepts. But how do you draw everything? How do you draw nothing? So it's a story of nothing.
How do you draw love? And that's
right.
the favourite picture in here is just incredible.
Yeah, how love created everything. Yeah,
yes, so incredible. I know we can do some close-ups, but it's unbelievable. And
so that was just a passion project
yes.
that I wanted to do that took for ages, and it's still a passion project. And I love to be able to share that poem with people.
But in this day and age, like we know most sickness, particularly in the youth, is caused by all of the things that didn't exist generations ago. So this could be the simple solution to actually changing this trajectory that we're on. And
well, that's it. We have to change the culture.
Yeah.
And I keep on saying that the currency of wellness is connection.
Yes.
So how do we connect people to each other,
Yes.
to the world, to themselves?
Yes. When we're not allowed to hold hands anymore, and that was the first thing in your poem for wellness. And I just thought, that's banned. All of these things that intrinsically, you don't have to be able to explain why it works, but you know in your heart how it feels.
That's
and
it.
It's sad that we're killing off all the things that make us well and bringing in this toxicity that...
Yes, I've got another very short poem.
Yes.
And I call it The Recipe for Wellness.
Okay.
It's bathe in beautiful water, prepare delicious food, make the most of every breath, dance through every mood. Tend the soil beneath your feet, embrace sunshine from above, share your gifts with all the world and fill your life with love.
Beautiful, and that the feelings that brings out, it's incredible.
Super simple.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Marc, and I look forward to seeing whatever you do next will be incredible. And this is the Inspired CEO, and we'll be right back.